Hey ladies and gents, welcome back. This is going to be a new What If. This is going to be part 1 of What If Naruto had Moros from Dragon Ball Super's powers. So, that being said, make sure to leave any comments about future What If ideas you have in the comments below. And with that being said, let's just jump right into the What If itself. Whenever Naruto just happens to be like walking around the village, or anything like that, at this point he's probably around 6 years old, everybody tries to avoid him even more than they do normally. Because whenever people are around Naruto, for some reason they just feel drained and weakened, like the longer they are around him. And eventually some people actually like die if they're in a close proximity to Naruto for, too long of a time, because Naruto doesn't know how to actually control these powers yet, and it's just kind of like having the absorption ability active at all times because he doesn't even know it's a thing yet. So, with Naruto doing this, this makes every single villager and pretty much almost all of the shinobi, including Hiruzen, hate him like a great deal, because not only has Naruto killed people, but also Naruto just has this evil presence about him, like that's even greater than it is in the original. Well, because of the nine-tailed fox, but it's even, like, greater. Like, his presence just feels dark, and nobody really likes Naruto because of it, and he's seen as even more so of a demon than he is in the original, What If. Along with the fact that his skin is, like, a little bit blue, and, he kind of, like, resembles a goat in a weird way, but that doesn't mean that Naruto was inherently, just because of Moro's powers, a bad person. This just means that because of the way that people treated him, and because they feared his powers and didn't really know what they were, people fear what they don't understand, that they treated Naruto poorly. And this means that, unlike in the original, Naruto's not going to be able to handle it. He's kind of going to like turn into a Gaara here, at least like the beginning, like original Naruto Gaara, not Shippuden Gaara. And he kind of just hates the village. He has this deep hatred towards the village and all of the villagers because of how much they just put him through. Eventually Naruto gets to the age where he's able to join the academy, but he quickly gets kicked out of it because whenever he is in the academy, every student around him, like I've been saying, just feels drained. They feel weakened, and sometimes they even collapse to the floor completely unconscious, just out of nowhere. Nobody really knows why this is actually happening, but eventually Naruto ends up getting kicked out of the academy, and people, seeing that nobody's everybody's feeling better and everything like that, they see Naruto as the cause of pretty much all pain in the village, all pain throughout pretty much everything. All except for one person. This obviously being Hinata, because Naruto is still nice. He is still nice, at least at this point, because remember, Naruto's still really young, and he hasn't embedded that deep hatred that he has to the village just yet, because Naruto's 8, so he can't really do that much yet. The one person, like I've been saying, that doesn't completely despise Naruto is actually Hinata in this What If, just because, Hinata's just kind of that type of person, even in the original, where everybody even told Hinata Naruto is a demon, and all that kind of stuff. She didn't really believe it, and still kinda liked him. So that's kind of what happens here, and this doesn't exactly go well for her, because whenever she is around Naruto, it isn't an illusion of people getting weaker. It is genuinely draining the life energy that they have and slowly killing them over time if they spend too much time around Naruto. Now, Naruto has realized this. He knows that this is an absolute fact. He has been alive for long enough now to realize that, it is actually true. He might genuinely be a demon, and that is also going to be part of the reason why Naruto may or may not turn evil later on in this What If. But how exactly is this, going to happen? How is Naruto even going to realize or, be able to control his powers? Well, it's going to be emotional damage, When Naruto is, hanging around in the woods one day, doing some light training and just trying to, contemplate his life and, whether or not he even deserves to be alive or, stuff like that. At this point, he more so blames himself more than, anybody else. So, he doesn't really care that much. But when he's hanging around in the village, a bunch of villagers show up at this point, and they are just throwing rocks at Naruto from a distance. They are pretty far away, so Naruto's draining ability isn't actually working on them yet. And eventually, Naruto stands up. He has taken absolutely zero physical damage from this. Naruto's, like, physical prowess is, like, insane here because just how strong Moro was. But Naruto would pretty much be taking no physical damage during this, like, you know, the rock throwing and stuff like that. Eventually, some Chunin and, like, Genin would show up, and they'd start using, like, actual jutsus on Naruto, like Fireball and different things like that. And still, Naruto seems completely unharmed through all of it. And at one point, there's even this weird blue orb that seems to appear on his head, but it quickly disappears after. But it seemed to have some kind of figure in it that looked kinda like a fireball, but nobody really understands what it is or what it does or anything of that sort. But when it did happen, Naruto was taking absolutely no damage from fire or anything of that sort, so everybody is kinda concerned and really confused as to why, you know, that actually happened. But they decide to move on with their day. But eventually, something more powerful shows up to try to, you know, kill off Naruto. When the Chunin and Genin realize that they're not going to be able to do it just because of how strong Naruto is, eventually, years would pass by, and Jonin would also start attacking Naruto. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean it is going to be, you know, certain people, like, in specific, just, like, kind of random people. Like, Kakashi isn't going to be coming up and, like, you know, using his 1,000 different jutsus to try to murder Naruto. Like, Kakashi really isn't that type of guy. Like, he wouldn't like Naruto here. But I don't think he would really mind Naruto that much, because Naruto hasn't really done, you know, anything that, like, bad yet. Like, he hasn't really killed anybody or done anything like that. He kind of just tries to mind his own business, but everybody just absolutely hates him to the point where they just try to kill Naruto on a pretty much daily basis. Now, life would go by like this for many, many years, and, well, not many years, but, you know, a few more months would go by, and remember, Naruto is probably around 9 years old at this point, and he was enrolled in the academy, but, you know, like I said, he got kicked out, so most of the time he spends is just kinda like thinking to himself in the forest, and one of these days, Naruto enters his mindscape, and he finds himself in a puddle in front of a giant cage. Looking into the cage, he sees a giant beast in front of him, and, you know, thinking that this is some kind of demon, Naruto is immediately scared and runs away. Naruto, you know, running out of this weird water area in his mindscape, actually wakes up in the real world again, where he was laying on the ground. Now, many people are surrounding Naruto at this point, and he has somebody who's actually kind of like on top of him right now. But he doesn't really know why or who or anything like that. All he really sees at this point is a kinda short black hair. Naruto, managing to like get a bearing of his surroundings and figuring out what is actually happening, realizes that it's Hinata, the one girl that doesn't really hate him too much. But as Naruto, you know, wakes up more and more, he realizes that Hinata seems to be pretty much a husk of her former self, before Naruto completely realizes it. She's dead. Gone. There are villagers and a few, you know, ninjas surrounding Naruto at this point, and they just witness this, but Naruto has been sleeping this entire time, and doesn't really know what actually happened, because Naruto hasn't actually killed anybody with this drain ability yet, and all he's really seen it do is weaken people. He hasn't even seen it make people, like, smaller or anything like that, like shriveled up or anything. But since Naruto doesn't know this, that means he's not going to assume it was himself. He was just in his mindscape for however long he was there, and in that time, Hinata was around Naruto and slowly weakened more and more and more until she couldn't even stand up anymore, and eventually she just kind of died because she couldn't move and all of her stamina drained. And with the villagers like actually seeing this, obviously their hatred for Naruto grows a absolute stupidly great deal, and they're gonna try to kill Naruto at this point. Like, before, they were like, you know, they were like, okay, I don't really mind if I killed him, but they don't really care. They were just trying to, you know, hurt him, make Naruto try to leave, or like, you know, kind of stuff like that. But now, they are full-on killing intent at this point. Kunai with explosive tags come out. Everybody is just trying to kill Naruto with all of their might, but does absolutely nothing. Naruto seeing this just kind of, like, in his mind, because he's young, he doesn't really understand anything, he thinks to himself that for some reason they have just been trying to kill him this entire time, and Hinata tried to defend him, and they just ended up killing her too. So Naruto, noticing this, immediately the rest of his abilities would activate. Naruto's Drain would completely go on a overboard as a energy somewhat surrounds Naruto, and people can see their chakra literally leaving their body and feel themselves getting weaker and dropping to the ground in mere seconds. Everybody falls down to the ground, Naruto can feel himself getting stronger, and everybody around Naruto dies. Pretty much within, seconds of Naruto actually, fully activating his ability at this point. Now, Naruto, during this, actual time, has been pretty much, holding Hinata in his arms the, entire time he's been doing this, and eventually, at some point, he, actually, touches his forehead, and actually feels that there's something there, but he doesn't really know what it is. But something activates. Naruto's eyes suddenly just kind of see more, as a pretty much purple light is emanating out of the little blue thing, whatever you want to call it, on Naruto's head, and Naruto realizes that whatever just happened to him, he can see a lot better now, and he can actually see the village from here, which is pretty fucking far away, and Naruto realizes that everybody hates him now, and he has to leave. So Naruto goes into the forest even farther. He keeps walking and walking and walking, and eventually he does stumble upon something, or somebody. He has light purple skin and white hair, this being a Kai. Now, you might be wondering, why am I introducing the Kais into Naruto? Well, you see, because of the fact that, the Kais are, the complete rivals of Moro back in the day, I figured it would be a good idea to actually introduce them here. So, the Kai facing Naruto at this point is just kind of, looking at him. And he just witnessed everything that happened, but that doesn't necessarily mean he wants to kill Naruto just yet, because he knows something that we don't just yet. But that's going to be for part 2. Sorry for a little bit of a shorter part on, this what if, only 13 minutes, but if you guys want to come back to see part 2, make sure to stop back in.